Hello everyone, welcome to Shoot On. This year has seen a huge increase in shotgun sales, mostly for defensive purposes, and there's been second only to handgun sales this year. Now, a lot of those sales are to first-timers, those who maybe aren't familiar with shotguns in general, or have never bought one for personal defense. And that brings up a lot of questions, such as what type of ammo should I be using for my situation? Maybe you live out in the suburbs, maybe you live out in the country, or maybe you live in a city in close quarter environments. The selection of ammunition, the ammunition that you want to choose for that personal defense scenario is largely going to depend on your anticipated environment in which you may be using the shotgun. So we're going to take a look today at three different types of ammunition, most popular and readily available, even though ammunition is tight right now. So the most common, well, Lou's here. He's going to be explaining his perspective on the shotgun ammunition, the personal defense. He's done a lot of hand loading, a lot of testing. So Lou, why don't you just explain what we've got here and what we're going to be looking at?
Well, when it comes to shotgun ammunition, there's a very large variety. We can go from slugs, which is a single projectile, through buckshot, which offers multiple projectiles, and birdshot, which is even smaller pellets with more projectiles per shot. And they all have their intended purposes. And before we get started on a range testing, that'll be the first thing we go over. It's just some of the basic differences. We just need to keep it simple. This is a very deep topic and can get rather technical very quick, but we just keep it easy.
Yeah, well, if you've ever looked online, read on forums, everybody's got an opinion when it comes to defensive shotgun ammo. So what we're going to do today is test each one of these primaries. We've got buckshot, we've got, like Lou said, birdshot, and slug. And we're going to try those at different distances so you can see the impact patterns and kind of use that to gauge what may be best for your situation.
When considering the shotgun for possible home defense scenario, we basically have three different types of ammunition to choose from, that being the rifled slug, buckshot, or birdshot. Now, pretty much the industry standard is double-aught buckshot with the 9-pellet load. All three of our offerings that we're going to be shooting on the range today are from Fiocchi, and each one has its advantages and disadvantages for a possible home defense type of situation. The rifled slug, where it has its advantage over the other multiple pellet type of rounds, it offers one projectile, which being much larger and heavier is going to increase our range, which really may not be much of an advantage for a home defense type scenario, as inside the home we're probably looking at some very close distances, 10, 15, 20, 30 feet or so. But the large projectile also gives us greater penetration, which can also be a problem with inside the home, as we could shoot through a possible adversary and the slug can continue on through multiple walls within the dwelling. Also, over-penetration is a great concern for those living in apartment environments and condominiums. However, when it comes to hunting, or as adversaries may hide behind something, that extra penetration can be an advantage. In a hunting situation, the rifled slug gives us greater range for deer hunting. Then we go to the double-aught buckshot load, the most common providing 9 pellets within the 12-gauge 2 3/4 load, such as we have here from Fiocchi. Each one of these pellets measures .330 in diameter. Now that our pellet size or our projectile size has gone down, the energy delivered by each individual pellet is less than what this slug would deliver, but we do have 9 projectiles now instead of 1, and penetration isn't going to be as great. So within the home, we may not have, or we're not going to have actually, the over-penetration problems that we would have with the rifled slug. But these are still going to penetrate sheetrock, and they're still going to carry a great ways. Now, as we move down in size, and what's often overlooked when considering possible personal defense situations, is the birdshot load. The smaller pellets in the birdshot, the energy retained by each pellet and the over-penetration that goes along with that is going to be greatly diminished, as well as our range. And oftentimes we don't consider birdshot because of the lack of penetration. However, when we're inside the home, we must think in terms of 10, 15, 20 feet. And a face full of this stuff at 15 feet is going to hurt. So now what we're going to do is we'll move on to the range and we'll show the differences in performance of these three different types of rounds.
Data has shown that most defense encounters occur at 10 feet or less. So we're going to begin our testing using Fiocchi's 2 3/4 inch double-aught buck, 9 pellets. We're going to start at 10 foot and we're going to work our way back in 10-foot increments until we begin to loose pellets on the silhouette. Well, we conclude our test at 100 feet. Let's go take a look at the targets. All right, so what do you think?
Done some mighty fine shooting.
Mighty good done.
And you know, it's easy to see how double-aught buckshot has pretty much become the standard throughout law enforcement for a defensive type load. As we look at the first 10-foot target, and this is where our data shows that so many of the home defense type situations occur. They're rather close. And we can see here that all 9 pellets are right center mass of the target. Now this large hole is made by the wad, which is behind the pellets, but we have all 9 pellets right in center mass of the target, and that's going to give, you know, maximum energy transfer onto target. Now, you know, over the years, speaking with people, and you know, we have people of different experience levels with shotguns and so forth. Then we also have the influence of movies and TV. You know, a lot of people may be under the misconception that with our shotgun, even at close range, that we have this big, large spread of the pellets, but we don't, nor is that desirable. We want our pellets to stay tight on target. So now we look at our 20-foot target. We just moved back 10 feet, and we can see how the pattern has grown. Yeah, it's really grown considerably. Although this is perfectly fine, this is desirable and going to be completely effective, and that's, you know, one of the advantages of using a shotgun for home defense is that it is a shoulder-fired weapon, and really all we have to do is point it. We have that ability to be able to brace the firearm against our shoulder and intuitively point the firearm at our target and put 9 projectiles on target very quickly. Whereas a handgun, which is certainly effective, may require a little more skill.
All right.
Now as we move from the 20-foot target to the 30-foot target, we can see yet again how the pattern has grown. It's perfectly fine. We have all 9 pellets. Now we can see, even on the 20-foot target, when we come to 30-foot, we can see the more distinctive impact of the wad, which is, you know, beginning to fall and drop out of the pellet placement. Being a lighter material, and this illustrates also the difference from buckshot to birdshot. Birdshot being the smaller pellets, they're going to be lighter than the individual buckshot pellet. Well, the wad being lighter than the lead is dropping out of the picture rather quickly, whereas the lead is pretty much still center target. It just grew in pattern size. And, you know, 30 feet, if you think about inside the common American home, you're probably at your maximum distance that you would find yourself shooting. Now, I'm sure there's larger homes out there, but, you know, pretty much the average bedroom size, average living room size, dining room, so forth. I know from my bedroom door to my front door is about 25 feet. You know, that's a little bit of a stretch. It's actually a little bit less than that. But as we go from 30 to 40, you know, we still have all of our pellets on target, but we can see yet again how the pattern is beginning to disperse, and we're still going to be effective here. But we can see as we continue to get further, that pattern continues to grow. And now the wound channel is becoming more and more, you know, smaller.
Right.
And then 50 feet, which is quite a difference.
Oh yeah.
Quite a difference from 40. We're spread out, but we still have the majority of our pellets on target. What we got here, 2, 4, 6, 8. We missed one, which is common out of a 9 pellet double-out buckshot load to drop 1 pellet off. That's common. This is still going to be very effective at 50 feet. And, you know, because of the ability to keep the pellets on target, to have 8 on at 50 feet, and then we think of, you know, all that's been going on in the nation over the number of months now, probably, you know, in my mind, about 7 months. Here we are in October. We have not only in the home, but we have out and around the home.
Right.
Where distances can increase if something, you know, was out in our backyard or our front yard and that type of thing. And of course, we're not advising anybody to do anything.
No.
But it's just something to consider and to know about, to be aware of. So we continued our test on, and of course, they'll be able to see all the individual targets in the individual video sequences you were shooting them. And at, well, we culminated at 100 feet, which, let's just end with that one. And, you know, that's a little over 30 yards. And that's a pretty good piece. And, you know, it's a bit of a stretch. You know, one of our limiting factors is, you know, we got 18-inch barrel and cylinder choke. But yet, with a shoulder-fired firearm, that helps us. If we think about handgun, and, you know, the adversary, you know, what's the probability of an adversary having a handgun? You know, how many people are going to be able to reliably hit the silhouette, in other words, return fire, at 100 feet with a handgun?
Right.
It's going to be rather difficult.
Right.
But with a little bit of practice, the novice with a shotgun and double-aught buck is going to be able to put some pellets on target.
And that just gives you a tremendous defensive perimeter.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. From whether like you said, whether you're inside the home or on property outside, that is, you know, you're going to be able to stop or at least deter further problems with a shotgun, double-aught buck, at least out to 100 feet. That's that. You know, if you're getting hit with what we have 5, 6.
Yes, six pellets on target on 100 feet.
Yeah, that's going to slow somebody down or cause them to turn away.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's easy to see how double-aught buck has become the standard for the defensive shotgun round. But, you know, here we are 7 months into whatever's going on. And you know how I feel about the mess.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you don't hand load or reload, you know, your own ammunition, and you go to the store, whether it's Walmart or Cabela's or Ganderman, whatever it is, you know, store shelves, it's been difficult to find double-aught buck for a long time now.
Yeah.
Where I shop at, it shows up from time to time, and it's gone very quickly. So we're kind of left with, hey, I just bought a shotgun, I might have to defend myself. And we talked about this, you know, earlier in the video. All I can get is birdshot. You know, then what? Well, it's not that birdshot is highly recommended. However, at distances within the home, birdshot's better than no shot, and it can be quite effective. And there's another, you know, advantage of that. You know, there's talk of the food supply and all this type of thing. And, you know, it's going to be hard to hit a quail in flight with double-aught buck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But with birdshot, and you had to, you could put food on the table as well.
That's true.
So let's go ahead and test our birdshot and see what it does.
Okay, let's do it. Well, I don't care who you are, you're not going to want to get in front of that.
No, exactly. At 10 feet, we look at this, and you know, let's keep in mind this is number 6 birdshot from Fiocchi, 3-inch load, 1 1/4 ounce, which means 1 1/4 ounces of lead birdshot.
Yeah.
And we can see the holes. We can see the pellet size is quite a bit smaller than the double-aught. But at 10 feet, look at the large hole right in center mass of the target. And, you know, again, at that 10-foot distance, thereabouts, give or take a little bit, depending on the data that you look at, but we're very much within the realm of the common home defensive type distance, in which is also usually resolved with 1 or 2 shots anyway. And, you know, a chest or a face full of that at 10 foot is going to take the wind out of anyone's sails.
Oh yeah.
So if all you can get your hands on during the pandemic, number 6, even if it's 7, 8, at 10, 15, 20 feet, you're going to be able to defend yourself, no doubt at all. And then we go to the 20 foot, you know, we look at the target there, we can say things spread out considerably. You know, we got to keep in mind too, we have an 18.5-inch barrel, cylinder choke, so there's no real constriction at the muzzle. But, you know, even at 20 feet, which, what would you say, fairly common distance across somebody's living room, you know, the average American household, we still have a very large hole right in the center. Of course, some of that is from the wad making contact, but there's still a lot of shot density right in the center of the impact area, or the aim point. Then as we move back to 30 feet, we can see that it's grown quite a bit.
Oh yeah, big difference there.
Yeah. But still, you know, what adversary wants this?
No, that's gonna stop advancement.
Exactly. You know, is it as effective as double-aught buck? Well, you know what? It's more effective than not having anything.
Absolutely.
And most adversaries, if somebody's trying to do you harm, they're not going to want a chest full of this. And then we can also think, you know, 30 foot is probably going to be a long shot within a household. But, you know, some homes are larger than others, and we look down hallways and things of that nature. It's, you know, definitely a possibility. But we also want to keep in mind, as we mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video, is there's a lot of Americans that are living in apartments, in condominiums, or homes that are very close together. And we can see how this shot, just in 30 feet, is spreading out, and we can see how small the pellets are. So the propensity to continue to penetrate through multiple walls and to carry on into a neighbor's home or in a neighboring condominium type environment is going to, you know, be less. So depending on your situation, birdshot may be, you know, an optimum choice. It's certainly something to consider.
Sure. And
then once we get to 40 feet, we see the shot pattern continue to grow. And then at 50 feet, and, you know, we're really exceeding those personal defense type loads. And, you know, we look at litigation in America and things like this. When somebody's this far away, you know, the opposing attorney, you know, what are you doing shooting somebody that far away? But, you know, anyway, that would be a different discussion. But for someone thinking, well, what if I did have to defend myself and they're shooting at me with a rifle and all I got is a shotgun? Well, we could also think about shifting point of aim to the face and neck area, where we can see if we just shifted this up at 50 feet, we're still going to have good coverage. And, you know, the neck, we have the carotid artery and the jugular vein, and we have eyes, and people could be blinded. And
I mean, you're not talking about torso penetration at these distances to any degree, but, you know, because they've got clothing, what have you.
Rib bones.
But when you're talking about a bare face, bare neck, even 40, 50 yards.
Or feet.
Or feet, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Threat eliminated.
So if all we can get, and this is all we got, definitely better than nothing, and no need to feel undergunned or inadequate with birdshot at within the home ranges.
No.
Or especially in condominium apartment type dwellers and things of that nature, you know, it still may be your best shot. Yeah. And also having the ability to go hunting if you had to put food on the table.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Now, you know, we got one more to test, which is the slug. We're just firing one projectile, so that's going to increase our range even more and allow us, if we wanted to go hunting for larger animals such as white-tailed deer in our area.
Let's see what that looks like then.
All right, let's get started. We finished up our test using the 7/8 ounce slug. And also, instead of shooting in increments of 10 feet, we immediately went to 50 yards, simply because we know 7/8 ounces of lead going at, what was that, 1,300? Yeah, 1,300 feet per second. We know we're not going to have any problems with penetration.
No.
No. That's a lot of lead on target. In our first shot at 50 yards, you were just off the bullseye a little bit. And, of course, we can see the hole that 7/8 ounce of lead makes. for a personal defense situation, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And as we spoke of earlier in the video, that solid projectile increases the range. So we know anything shorter than 50 yards, you're going to be on target if you do your part, and we're certainly going to have the energy and penetration. So we started at 50 yards, and then we went back to 100. We shot 75 and then 100 yards. We just went in 25-yard increments. And with this one, after shooting 50 yards, we also wanted to illustrate on this target extending the range, shooting the double-aught buckshot just to see what that would do, because the smaller projectiles were going to shed velocity faster, penetration is going to suffer, and also the shot pattern is going to grow exponentially. And as we can see here, there's only 3 pellets out of 9 that are on target.
Yep.
So that's really a stretch for our combination with our 18.5-inch barrel shotgun and cylinder choke to go 50 yards with double-aught buck.
Yeah.
From there, we went to the 75 yards, and Rob was still on target. And sometimes we pull a shot. We're not perfect every time. And immediately after shooting this, Rob identified, hey, had a little problem with that one. And also at 75 yards, we repeated the double-aught buckshot test. And here we got 1, 2, 3 on target again. But we also wanted to illustrate what number 6 birdshot does at 75 yards. Because, we terminated that test earlier on to show that within the confines of a home, it can still be effective.
Oh, yeah.
And also with the penetration characteristics, it may be desirable to have that limited penetration if we're living within a condominium or apartment or that type of thing. Or even in our house, if we have a lot of children and things like that, if something went wrong, it can be an advantage that we don't have to worry about going through wall after wall after wall and that type of thing. And definitely a slug is going to carry through a house.
No question.
And it wouldn't be my first choice for inside the home. But for extended range outside the home, or if one had to use their shotgun to put meat on the table, this has now become an effective firearm to go deer hunting with.
Yeah.
So with the number 6 shot, what we found at 75 yards, we have very few pellets on target. They just shed their velocity too quickly. And if we look at the holes that we do have, the ones that did impact, they're not all very distinct round holes. And as I hold this up to the light, I really couldn't see completely through the number 6 holes like I could at 50 feet.
Yeah.
I can see all the holes cleanly through this. So I just wonder, 75 yards, I'm not completely sure that the pellets actually penetrated the cardboard.
Yeah.
So number 6 is best left for home defense at close distances. Of course, these probably sting.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And nobody really wants to be shot with them. That's for sure.
Nope.
So, just continuing on with the slug, just to see what we could do, Rob made a little correction. And at 100 yards, with open sights, of course he was shooting off of a rest, but, pretty much that came out right between the eyes.
Yeah.
And that's at 100 yards, 7/8 ounce of lead, 1,300 feet per second, muzzle velocity. And, if you shot a deer or,
it's going down.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. So, in summary, if I'm asked a question, and I've been in this business for a long time. I've had my own gunsmithing shop, and I've gunsmithed for some of the finest marksmen in the nation when I was at the Army Marksmanship Unit there at Fort Benning. And speaking with customers over 20 plus years that I've been in this field, if I was going to choose one firearm, if we look at the state that our country's in now, and we have a lot of new firearms purchases, and there's probably still going to be even more, first-time gun buyers coming. And we have to look at things financially and all this, and also now availability with the state our nation's in. What can I get my hands on? If I could only have one firearm, it would probably be the shotgun. I can effectively defend my home and my family, and I can put food on the table.
Absolutely.
I can fire multiple different types of projectiles, and it's multi-function. And for a novice to be able to have the ability of a shoulder-fired firearm is much easier to learn to shoot than it is a handgun where we're holding it out extended from our body.
Right.
That's not to say handguns aren't effective. Of course, this is my opinion, and it's what works for me and the advice that I would give. Now, with that, once we have the shotgun, what ammunition do we purchase? Well, first off, to have full advantage of the shotgun, I would want one of each. You know, I would want the Slug, I would want the double-aught buck, and I would want some Birdshot. It doesn't necessarily have to be number 6. It comes in a variety of sizes, 4, 5, 6. You know, for shooting smaller birds that are flying, 7.5, 8, and so forth, we have a little more pellets for the bird to fly through if we're shooting at a bird in flight. So that gives us the ultimate advantage of owning a shotgun. But now, availability of all this can be difficult. You know, if I was going to go to the store right now and try to buy a double-aught buckshot, I pretty much guarantee I can't. I can't. So I'm left with pretty much what I can get. And to adequately defend myself, you know, within the confines of the home, 10, 15, 20 feet, 30, 40, whatever, it can be done with anything that comes out of the shotgun.
Right.
Provided that you do your part. So, you know, I don't know how long ago it's been, and I can't believe this, but I can't help but be in agreement, and probably only on this one thing. Joe Biden said, get a shotgun.
He did do that.
So that might have been the best advice he's ever given.
You may be right.
Yeah. And you know what I'd like to do at a future date is, you know, I'm sure there could be some people out there that sort of been sitting on the fence of hand loading, and those that may be new to hand loading. Just what can we do with hand loads in the shotgun with the idea of self-defense and defensive type loads? What can we do? And maybe we can work on that in the not too distant future.
That sounds like a good project. And after seeing what factory loads can do, yeah, that would be interesting to see what you can do with some hand loads. Excellent. Well, I hope this was a good good educational session for you guys. It certainly was for me. I haven't done a lot of shotgun work, and this really has opened my eyes to the possibilities. And like you said, you know, when you're in dire straits to get ammunition, this is a good alternative. So we're gonna take a look at some hand loading next, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Cool deal.
I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
I didn't think it provided very much protection.